All right, just to confirm for the listeners who we have on the phone here, it's the one and only Deekline. Is it you, sir?
It is, yes.
And you know what? I got to say, it's an honor to talk to you, man. I was reading a bit about your history, and I see that you're one of the creators, if not the innovator, of Breakstep music. Is this true?
Well, I'd say there's a group of us who were doing that kind of sound, back in the late 90s. It was like Zinc was doing it. I think he was just playing around with slower beats, and he had this junglist thing, and there was Shut Up and Dance as well. So there was Stanton Warriors as well. So there's definitely a thing going on. But yeah, I was definitely one of the first people to do it.
Well, thank you for that, and we're going to dive more into that, but I want to start off with some fun questions, get to know you a little, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so I read that you were a DJ at the young age of 10, so I've got to ask, what was the first album you ever purchased with your own money?
Oh, that's a really good question. I was buying a lot of rap music back then. I can't remember, but it would be around the sort of 1990 era, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, it might. Let me have a think about that. Wow. It was like Salt and Pepper, Push It, like that. Those kind of tunes. I was buying like 10 inches and stuff of that sort of music. I liked Miami bass back then as well.
Well, then, what would your first concert have been if that was your first record? What was the first concert you ever attended?
I didn't, back then for us, we'd go to there'd be raves, so there'd be this party called Teen Rage, and it was hardcore music then.
Sure. So you went to hardcore rave parties before you ever saw Salt and Pepper in concert.
Yeah, I didn't really go to concerts. We went to raves back then.
Well, what did you call it? Teen something. What did you say it was?
Teen Rage. It was called Teen Rage.
And
it was old jungle, really early jungle and hardcore, basically.
Well, let me ask you this then. You were probably around for the progression of hardcore acid house into what we call jungle drum and bass today. When would you say was the first time you heard jungle?
I think it was 1993, 92. I'd say it's tracks like Just For You London. I don't know if you remember that tune.
Of course.
And they were Who's the Bad Man, Just For You London, We Are E. That's when it was getting a bit darker and more, they were using drum and bass breaks back then.
Interesting, most specifically the Amen break, which has been, I think, torn apart and used every way possible, right?
Yeah, it was about 92, 93 when they were making dark hardcore tunes, really, with big bass lines.
Interesting. So you say it's a combination of a darker bass as well as a more progressive drum?
Yeah, basically.
Let me ask you this then, because I know that you're someone who's been producing for many years. How have the tools that you used when you first started creating to what you're using today changed?
The whole, the general vibe of it, it all does the same sort of thing. I just think the synths have progressed a little bit more. But we used to use the Akai samplers and a time, and I'm back to using Cubase again. And I just think you can just back then you used to lose your shit a lot because the equipment was good,
Sure.
And you'd be working on zip files, and the zip files would corrupt. Would be all your work down the toilet. But I think it's a lot more easy to access your sound libraries and create more sophisticated sound design now.
Well, there's something interesting in what you say. I've spoken to other producers, and one of the things, aside from more hardware back in the day than today, they also talk about the ability to save a song and how many discs it once took. And like you're saying, you could lose your lunch if something spilled, or you lost a disc, a floppy disk or something.
Often they'd just corrupt out of nowhere, for no given reason. They'd just you'd have a disc and it just wouldn't work. So I think it's just now things are a lot more accessible and easier and quicker you know. But there's something of an art like to making tunes back in the day, because you have to use less components, and when you use less components, you think about the components you're using for. And so I think making simpler tunes is an art itself.
No, I agree with you. I think that that goes for a lot of things. Sometimes when I hear somebody explain something to me, if I'm trying to learn something and they convolute the topic, I'm like, this person obviously doesn't understand what they're talking about. Because if you do, you can do it in a very simple way. Same thing with production, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Do you believe that a producer must also be a DJ to be successful in today's industry?
No. But I think something that's important is the producer, like, people make the best music when they're part of the scene or a movement. And to be part of the scene and understand it, you have to be in it and you have to be living it. And to live it, you've got to go to the clubs. So I think it's really important to be, you know, involved in the scene. You don't have to be a DJ to be a producer, but it helps, I think.
How about vice versa? There's deep profanity in what you just said, but I want to ask you, do you think that a DJ must be a producer to be successful?
Yeah, sadly, yes.
You know, it's to me, a lot of people that don't know the topic will say, "Isn't it the same question?" And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's a very different question." Sorry, go ahead.
Back in the golden days, like in the late '90s, like DJs were built off being very good craftsmen and DJs, but now it seems like you can't be a big DJ unless people know your last tune.
Or I find that you must have exclusivity to a producer that's not releasing to anyone but you or maybe one or two people, you know?
Yeah.
Like I look at certain DJ success, people like Nicky Blackmarket, Kenny Ken, they jump out to me as guys that made it as DJs, not as full producer DJ. Do you get what I mean? Why I separate those names from the rest?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, let me ask you this. How was Breakstep born? Let's take it back to the beginning. I guess we're at the point where jungle's already become something, and you guys started to basically slow down the two-step. Am I right in saying that?
I mean, look, I came from a jungle background, so I started off listening to jungle, and I just thought, like, if we could capture some of that energy, because two-step was so big, and I love two-step, but I like breakbeats, chopped up breaks, so my way of looking at it was if we can capture some of that energy and chop it up into like the 130 BPM range, special there, and that's how some of my tunes came about.
It's interesting. You gave birth to a music that I didn't even know what it was when I was listening to it, but I loved it, and I still do. It's what makes me want to get down with my bad self, if you will. But
Yeah.
I got to ask you then, because I know you produce a motley of sounds. You're very eclectic. What would you say is your favorite music to produce, and what is it about that specific music that makes it so enjoyable?
Oh, that's a good question. I like jungle and breakbeat personally, just because I like chopping breaks up. I like breaks, and yeah, I like, and also I like Miami bass because I love the way that you can roll out 808 bass lines, and they never get old and they never get boring.
I know what you mean. I feel you. I hope the listeners understand that technical representation of a bass line. Okay, there's a song that I know has made you famous, I think, the song I Don't Smoke. But from what I know of this song, there's a little bit of controversy behind it. And it was also very influential in what we consider our dubstep culture today. So I was hoping you could take me through the creation of the song, if you could share some of the controversy that I'm talking about, and what influence you think it had on dubstep.
Yeah, well, basically, it came about, like, it was one of the first tunes I made, and I just wanted to put that kind of, like, more hyped, rougher edge jungle energy into a two-step tune. And yeah, it kind of like, it got, like, the club scene was getting quite violent. Like, there was a lot of trouble there. But it was a double-edged sword, because that song, like, cut through every type of boundary. But people didn't like it, because it was like, because the scene, there was quite a lot of violence in the scene. It kind of represents a state and a time of, a state of people's minds.
Sure.
And I think like grime evolved out of it, which is like a UK sound and a UK type of hip hop. And because people didn't like that new element coming into what they had originally known as soulful garage, it upset quite a few people who were trying to control the scene, basically. But what you learn historically is when you try and tell people what to do or control the scene, you get a big backlash, and it also makes things more. Tell a kid not to do something, they automatically want to do it, don't they?
It's human nature, man. You put the red ribbon around the thing, and we want to see what's on the other side of that ribbon, don't we?
Exactly. So what you had is these guys who've been doing a scene for years, and they were seeing it disappear from beneath them, and they obviously didn't want to lose their positions and work, and it wasn't their thing. But rather than accept that, okay, there's a new olive leaf for different aspects of this music that we're not into, but it's still a different side to the music that's being introduced. Let's embrace it. They were like, let's hate it and ban it, which you can't do.
Well, you know what? As you were saying what you were saying, it kind of makes me think of even the two names for our one music. We call it drum and bass and jungle because people tried to change it. They wanted to get it right. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, definitely. You can't put in boundaries. Like, what makes the musical scene big, beautiful, and flourish is when you have vocal tunes, you have dark tunes, and you can play them all together. And that's why when scenes are massive and you have all those different influences and types of music, you can mold together and break down all the boundaries.
Yeah, I have to say there's a little while there, and even to this day where I'm listening to music going, I don't even know what I'm listening to right now, but I like it. I don't know what you call it. I don't know what genre this is, but I like it.
Yeah.
But, okay, I've got two fun questions for you here. Are you familiar with Mount Rushmore, the monument in the United States?
The what, sorry?
There's a monument in the United States called Mount Rushmore where they've got 4 American president faces kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely familiar with it, yeah.
Okay, so my question is this. If we were to create a Mount Rushmore for the jungle industry, what 4 faces do you think should go up there?
Oh, wow. That's a very tough question. I'd say probably like Shy-FX for jungle or drum and bass more.
Let's it's all in there. Jungle, drum, and bass. I would say it's all one. So anyone that you think in those 2 little subgenres.
All right. So I'll probably go Shy-FX, DJ Hype, Goldie, and maybe someone who's come from the original, like Breaks, where. Oh, the 4th one. Maybe like someone like an LTJ Bookham.
There you go. A lot of people have been like, okay, when I interviewed Aphrodite said that LTJ Bookham is one of the creators of jungle because he created the rolling bass lines. And
yeah,
I had never thought of that. He's not someone we get to hear a lot of here in Canada, so I think he does get missed a lot. One that I've been taught recently is a guy named Gerald.
You know what? I would put Aphrodite in there as well if I had space, because he definitely brought like a different edge to the sound and made it fun. Like, he put in the hip hop R&B edge into it, done it really well.
He did. He had like I say, he knew which songs to remix and he knew how to do it, and the bass lines were just so Aphrodite. Like it
He was fun.
He was what?
Was
Sorry?
funky.
Funky, yes. Funky's a good word.
Yeah.
Okay, you asked a question there that I kind of want to dive into a little. It's off topic, but I like this. You asked me if I'm talking jungle or drum and bass, and to me, I know the two names as the same type of music. It's just that they changed the name to try and get rid of the ruffian aspect. But to you, I want to know, like, do you consider them two separate styles? And if
They
so,
are, you know, like the thing is they both borrow things from each other, right? So to me, like a jungle tune is a light, skippy break with a reggae vibe to it, where drum and bass tune is when you've got more of like a kind of drum and bass kind of ring to it. Could you just hold on one sec, please? Could I get Big Mac, please? Yes, please. Yeah. Medium with Coke Zero. That's it. Thank you. Sorry about that.
no, and I got to say, the Coke Zero doesn't make that healthy.
No, it makes you feel better though, right?
That's it. I'll have a diet soda, please. But hold on, I just want, because this is news to me. The fact that someone who's as legendary and as seasoned and tenured as yourself is kind of saying something different than what I've heard from other people. I always did have the belief that jungle to me was the reggae style stuff. That's what I said. But being educated, I guess, by some of my grandfathers, they told me, listen, it's the same stuff. It was just that there was an incident in the UK where a bunch of rough people started coming out to jungle parties, so they tried to swing the name and call it drum and bass. But it was the same music.
I don't know about that because I think the drum and bass is like, to me, I consider drum and bass is when it got a little bit more two-steppy and it still had the big bass lines, but it was slightly less revolved around like reggae samples and ragga samples, and it was more just like the beats. It was more about just the beats and getting slightly more techy with the bass lines. And then where the jungle was more about the feeling, the sub, a light rolling skippy break, and it wasn't like with the jungle. It's more revolved around the vocals and the reggae aspect of it. With drum and bass, it was more revolved around the drums and cut up amens and stuff, and it was a little bit more noisy. That's how I would interpret it.
I appreciate that because, I hear an answer and I hear it from somebody who's been around and I'm like, bam, I got it. Now I know the answer. But it's like, no, you don't know shit. The only thing you know is what that guy's told you.
Everyone's got their own interpretation of it. So
Exactly.
I don't think there's right or wrong answer there.
I will find it one day, Mr. Deekline.
Yeah. I don't think it will because I don't think there is a right or a wrong answer. I think it's how you perceive it, basically.
I like that. We could do a panel discussion where we have a bunch of you experts, and I would love to hear everybody's bounce off opinion off each other. All right, final question for you. If you could put 5 items in a vault that would encapsulate our rave culture, so in like 20,000 years they're going to dig up the vault, we want the people to know what the rave once was. What 5 items would you put in that vault?
5 items in a vault?
Yeah, and you can put anything. You can put like a whole club, you can put a country, you can put people, anything you want in that vault.
It would have to be a Technics 1210.
Okay.
A Reebok Classic trainer.
Okay.
A Jungle Fever raid jacket.
Nice.
A V Recordings vinyl. And a Music House dub plate.
Wow. I thought that was a pretty quick 5. I thought we were going to go through more of a laborious process there, but that's an awesome 5. I think that people would definitely love and respect the rave after seeing those 5 items. And I'm surprised you didn't throw any Deekline memorabilia in there.
No.
You know what? Before
I'm not like arrogant.
you're not very self-promoting, eh?
Yeah.
You know what? I haven't. When I was looking through your stuff, I saw that there hasn't been any releases really since 2011, I believe. Is that right?
On what? Sorry?
Just I was looking through your singles release, and I saw there was a bunch going from, I think like 99 all the way up to 2011, and then it stopped. And I was like,
yeah.
So, are we going to see anything new in 2019 or in the years to come?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've had loads of releases all the way through. Really, was that on Wikipedia? You look?
Yes.
I don't understand that, but I've definitely had a string of releases all the way through.
Well, then what we'll do when I post this, we're going to put a link down below if people want to follow you. But if they want to find your music, where can they go?
Spotify's always the best place, I think.
So I'll put your Spotify page down below. What is your opinion of Spotify to other artists that are thinking of utilizing them?
I think Spotify's great
Yeah?
because it just gives you a real good insight to where your music's popular, where it's, who's buying it and stuff, and it's very easy to use and accessible.
That is important. Here, I'm going to sign off to my listeners, but I want to talk to you for a little bit, so please stay on the phone with me, okay?
Yeah.
All right, that was him, Mr. Deekline. I hope you enjoy listening as much as I enjoy talking to these guys. As always, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, peace out.